Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Y'all, if y'all new here, make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, okay? So let's talk a little bit about shadow work, y'all. But before we do that, I want to let y'all know that my shadow work workbook is out, okay? So if anyone is interested in getting that, you can go over to the website and you can get that, all right? So let's talk about shadow work the truth speaker way, all right? I want to give y'all a little bit of insight of what's inside of the workbook, okay? And how the sessions are structured, okay? And how the sessions are run. So me, I have developed 5 focal points, okay, for those of you who are just starting out with your shadow work, for those of you who or keep hearing about shadow work but not quite sure what it is, for those of you who know that it's some things within yourself that you need to heal and clear up, okay? So the workbook, guys, is very structured and it's very focused, okay? It's like a blueprint, certain steps for you to follow, certain questions for you to ask yourself, places to look at to dig your trauma up from the root. All right, understand that shadow work is a deep healing process, okay? So it's dealing nothing but really in emotion, okay? Because it's a process of decoding your programming, right? So we do a critical analysis of ourselves. Everybody needs to do that, all right? So that you can gain the proper emotional intelligence that you need to move out here in the world, okay? Understand that emotional intelligence is very important to have because it affects you in every area of your life, right? So we always want to make sure that we're doing everything in balance, okay? So that means that you want to have a certain level of emotion involved and you want to have a certain level of practicality involved, okay? That way you can see the truth for what it is. All right, so it's a process of learning how to really rise above your emotions. All right, because at this particular time we have a lot of people out here who just flying strictly off emotions, right? And what I always tell y'all about, if you flying strictly off emotions, you know that should have your ass upstate somewhere, right? Just because you out of control, and you can be controlled by emotions, right? So you want to gain that. Shadow work helps us with that. All right. So like I said, getting back to my 5 focal points, all right, this is for those of you, like I said, who are new to shadow work. Some of you may not be new to shadow work, but some of you may be stuck. All right, some people get stuck like that. All right, so based on my 5 methods, guys, I just want to give y'all a little bit of insight into what we do. All right, now the workbook, guys, is structured around the shadow work sessions, but it can also be a standalone for those of you who want to go ahead and start that process on your own and see how it works for you. Okay, remember, shadow work is a process that everyone has to go through. Shadow work is work that you have to do on your own. Nobody can do that shadow work for you. All right, so you can use certain tools, and what I do is, I can walk people through certain things, guide them as to what questions they should ask themselves, where they should possibly look at in the past, and give them and help them find the exact focal point. All right, because everybody has something different. So some people, they have they have questions, they question themselves about a lot of things, and then once they get down to the root of it, it's the fact of they don't have confidence in themselves to trust the decisions that they make, right? And sometimes we just can't see those things, and it takes another person. So you can always be guided in that way, but nobody can do your work for you, so keep that in mind. So I'm gonna say this before I move on. For those of y'all that's gonna be booking sessions with me or thinking about it or even getting a workbook, guys, it's very structured. It's a lot of work in there, and you must be willing and dedicated to yourself and dedicated to doing the work, dedicating to put all of that focus on yourself to bring yourself up to the next level as to where you want to be at. Okay, so it's very focused and it's goal oriented as well. Okay, so a little insight into the sessions, guys. Focal point number 1, we focus on exposing hidden emotions. So in that session, what we're doing is, and I always recommend journaling, okay? So one thing you're gonna do is journal. All right, so look, you might want to go get your shadow work journal, okay? You can find that on my website also, okay? The shadow work journal. But I always recommend journaling. That's my method, okay? Especially because a lot of times we are so out of touch with our emotions because we got to live a day-to-day life. We got to go to work. We got to wake up and feed the children. We got to do this. We got to do that. So a lot of times we just rush and run over our emotions because we don't have time to sit there and think about it. And I noticed that a lot of people, even when I'm speaking to people in some of the sessions, they don't even know how they feel. They cannot identify that, right? So I feel like the journaling really does help you to sit there revisit some of your experiences and be able to identify your emotions, okay? So that's going to help you find your focal point also. All right. So in the first session, we focus on focal points and getting in touch with our emotions and being comfortable with accepting our emotions and being able to express our emotions to ourselves and be vulnerable, okay? Because a lot of us are unable to be vulnerable, okay? You can't be afraid to be vulnerable, and a lot of that comes from, you know, being hurt in the past, whatever. Everybody got their own little thing. So when we go into session 2, we deal with our traumatic experiences. So in session 2, we track that focal point that we found in lesson 1. We begin to track that down to the root. So that's why we do root tracking in session 2, okay? And so once we do that, we go over to session 3, and I'm just giving y'all a quick rundown, okay? It's much more that goes on in that other session, but I don't want this video to be too long. So 3, that's when we get into the purging and accepting emotions, okay? And so when we get into the purging and accepting emotions, another side of that is you know, accepting and understanding our programming, okay? And that's when we really get into understanding generational programming, okay? So now we're accepting our emotions for what it is, right? But we get into the process of understanding, y'all, because based on my method, I see that people benefit the most when they can understand. That is the most important thing. Understand why certain things have occurred and why they think the way they think, why they move the way they move right now, based on certain things that could have happened in the past, based on the way that they were programmed in the past, right? Because it's important for you to understand your programming so that you can create a new program for you to run off of, okay? And at the end of this course, that is the objective, okay? So once we get to 4, that's when we get to the point of realization, okay? And so now we understand generational programming, all right? And we begin to understand that, okay, I don't have to let my circumstances define me. I understand that all of the experiences that I've had have just been a mirror reflection, okay, of what I have on the inside, all right? And that is at the point where we begin to apply certain methods to create a new blueprint for ourselves. So like I say, I like to incorporate spiritual tools, such as astrology, okay, and actually really getting into the chakra work. Even though the shadow work process is really doing chakra work, we're dealing with those lower 3 chakras, all right? Now, once we get into 5, that is when we release, okay? And so that's when we really begin to create a solid plan for ourselves. How are we gonna you know, what are we gonna do when we become triggered, okay? How are we gonna begin to express our emotions to ourselves and not just cover it up and run over it? Who do we want to become? You know, who are we now? All right, so now we're developing new methods to deal with our emotions, all right? Also, as far as ignoring certain things, all right, like red flags, okay? We cover so much in the shadow work sessions, guys, okay? I'm just trying to give it to you in a nutshell, all right? So at the end of the sessions, after your 5 sessions, you should have redefined yourself, okay? Discover what system you're not going to operate on anymore, okay? What things you're getting rid of, all right? And you should have already started to make changes within yourself within the sessions, all right? So that's pretty much what it is, guys, in a nutshell, the Truth Speaker Way. Like I said, if any of you are interested in getting that workbook, y'all, it's very, very detailed. If anyone is going to be interested in booking sessions with me, y'all, make sure y'all ready to do work, okay? Because I give out assignments and everything, okay? So that's what I can say, y'all. I just want to share a little bit of information with y'all about Shadow Work, the Truth Speaker Way. Also, make sure that you get your Shadow Work journal, okay? You can get this on Amazon, guys. Also, remember that my ebook is out too. That is also on Amazon. You can go over to my website and get the links for those, all right? And so that's it, y'all. That's all I wanted to do was get into a little bit of shadow work. You know, if anybody have any questions or anything, y'all can comment, or, you know, go to the website and book your session and let's do work, all right? See y'all later.